Hey y'all, hey, welcome back to another episode of Truth, Trust, and Trajectory with your girl, Shakan. Today, I am so excited to have you guys back. This is episode 2 of my 5-part mini series, and I'm so glad you guys are here. In the last episode, we talked about what trauma is, the different types of trauma, and how it might be showing up in your life. Today, we're going to be taking a deeper dive into the science behind trauma, specifically how your brain and body responds to it. Now, I know the word science can feel a little bit intimidating, but don't worry, guys. We're going to break it down in a way that is easy to understand. Because here's the thing, when you understand how trauma works in your brain and body, it can be incredibly empowering. It helps you make sense of why you feel the way that you do, and it can also show you that healing is possible. Now, before I continue, guys, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. Also, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. Also, make sure you guys give me a thumbs up. And if you've been wondering why you're freezing in certain situations or why your heart races when you're reminded of something painful, this is the episode for you. Let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to start with the brain. The first part is the brain's survival system. So, what happens when we're experiencing something traumatic is our brain survival system kicks into higher gear. This system is designed to keep us safe, and it's also been around for thousands of years, guys. Way back to when our ancestors had to worry about things like predators and natural disasters. So, with this, there are three key parts of the brain's involvement in the survival response. The first part is the amygdala. So, this is where your brain's alarm system kicks in. It's constantly scanning for danger, and when it detects a threat, it sends out a signal to the rest of your body to get ready to fight, flee, or freeze. And then there's the hippocampus, and this part of the brain helps you process and store memories. During a traumatic event, the hippocampus can get overwhelmed, which is why traumatic memories often feel fragmented and unclear. And then the last part is the prefrontal cortex. So, the prefrontal cortex is the part of your brain's response. So, it's responsible for rational thinking and decision making. But during a traumatic event, the prefrontal cortex basically goes offline. That's why, in moments of trauma, it can be really hard to think clearly or make decisions. So, when you guys experience something really traumatic, your amygdala sounds the alarm, your hippocampus gets overwhelmed, and your prefrontal cortex goes offline. This is why, even years later, a sound, a smell, a tone, a voice can trigger that same survival response because your brain is still trying to protect you. Now, I want to talk to you guys about how trauma affects your body. Because trauma isn't just in your brain, it's in your body too. When your brain detects a threat, it sends a signal to your body to release a stress hormone like adrenaline and cortisol. These hormones prepare your body to fight, flee, or freeze. Your heart rate increases, your muscles tense up, and your breathing gets fast. This is great if you're actually in danger, like you need to run away from a predator. But here's the problem. When the danger is over, your body is supposed to return to a state of calm. But for a lot of people who have experienced trauma, that doesn't always happen. Instead, your body might stay in a state of high alert even when there's no real danger. This is why you might feel constantly on edge or why your heart might race when you're reminded of something painful. And over time, this constant state of stress can take a toll on your body. It can lead to things like chronic pain, fatigue, digestive issues, and even a weakened immune system. So I want to take a beat for a second with everything that I've just said so far. So have you guys ever noticed that you could be in a place of like safety and there's really not too much going on, but out of nowhere, your body literally starts setting off all sorts of alarms. So your heartbeat could get a little faster, or you can start feeling very anxious out of nowhere. A couple of weeks ago, I did a video on the cost of trauma, and I talked about a situation where I was in my room watching a movie, The Wiz, and out of nowhere, my body just started setting off all sorts of alarms and bells. So I started to feel very anxious, and I couldn't quite place why. And I'm going to get into this later on in the series, but when things like this arise, I have various tools that I am also offering to you guys. One being mindfulness and meditation. So that is pretty much a way of resetting your body's alarm system to put you back into a place of calm. So I just want to let you guys know that there is good news. Just as your body and brain learn to respond to trauma, you can also learn to heal. So now I want us to take a moment to talk about one of the most misunderstood trauma responses, and that is a freeze response. Most people are familiar with fight or flight, the idea that you're faced with danger where we either fight back or run away. But there's a third response that's just as common, and that is freezing. The freeze response happens when your brain decides that fighting or fleeing is not an option. Maybe the threat is too big, or maybe you're physically unable to escape. So instead, your body freezes like a deer in the headlights. This response can be really confusing, especially after the fact. You might think, why don't I fight back? Or why didn't I run away? But here's the thing, the freeze response isn't a choice, it's your brain's way of trying to protect you. And just like fight or flight, the freeze response can get stuck on repeat. That's why, even years later, you might freeze in situations that remind you of your trauma, even if there's no real danger. And I've seen so many different real life examples of this where a person might get so overwhelmed by a post traumatic issue or a situation where they literally are unable to make a decision or choice. And so they kind of just stay stagnant. And for a long time, I couldn't really understand why people choose to do nothing. But once I started to understand trauma and the way that it affects people, even their decisions in life, it really did start to make sense. So now I want to talk to you guys about how healing happens. We talked about the what, but we didn't discuss how. So, how do we actually begin to start healing from trauma? The first step is to understand how trauma works in your body and brain. Now, like I said at the beginning of the series, everyone has a different freeze, fight, or flight response. So, this isn't going to manifest or show up the same for everybody. Once you understand that, you can start to work with your brain and your body and not against them. One of the most powerful tools for healing is called something called neuroplasticity. So this is when your brain's ability to rewire itself is at work. Just as your brain learned to respond to trauma, it can also learn new, healthier responses. For example, therapy can help you process traumatic memories in a safe environment. Mindfulness practice can help you stay grounded in the present moment rather than getting stuck in the past. And somatic practices like yoga or breath work can help you release trauma that is stored in your body. And if you guys are confused about what any of these are, especially the somatic practices, please go back to my channel and check out episode 1, where I do give a description and go into detail about what somatic processes look like. So, healing isn't about erasing the past. It's about creating pathways in your brain's body, pathways that help you feel safe, grounded, and in control. So, if you guys are watching this and you're thinking, wow, this makes so much sense, I want you to know something. You're not alone. And more importantly, you're not broken. Trauma is a normal response to an abnormal experience. I just want to reiterate that. The fact that you're here learning how trauma works is a huge step towards healing. And in the next episode, we're going to talk about practical tools to help you with trauma recovery. And I'm also going to be giving you guys access to my workbook that is now up on Amazon. How exciting, to help you get through and process your trauma and also find new and healthy ways to navigate. If you don't want to miss the next episode, please make sure you guys subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss not another single episode. And if you're looking for more resources, you guys can go ahead and check out my website, TruthTrustAndTrajectory.com, where you'll find tools, guides, and even more in-depth content to help you take the next step. Until then, remember this: healing is possible. It is not always easy, and it is not always linear, but it is possible. And you don't have to do it alone. Please, guys, let me know in the comments what is one thing you're taking away from this episode. Make sure you guys leave me a review. And as always, hit that thumbs up button. Okay, bye.